Good evening. I come to you tonight with a heavy heart and in the interest of engaging you in an open and honest dialogue. Over the course of the last few weeks, various communities have been hit hard with some unspeakable tragedies. And given that we are one Long Island community, what happens in one town impacts us all. In the face of these unfortunate events, much discussion has arisen about bullying and its impacts and how to handle it. For the last 4 years, I have served as the volunteer president and executive director of the federally recognized nonprofit, the Long Island Coalition Against Bullying, an organization that I created based on my own experiences with relentless bullying. So what I say to you tonight, I say to you as someone who 20 plus years later can still taste the salty sting of the tears I shed as a victim, but also as someone who has spent the last 4 years spending countless hours a day as a volunteer fighting for all of our children. The last few days we've engaged in conversations about bullies, victims, who's to blame, how to help, who to punish, and many other subtopics connected to the overall issue. During the course of these conversations, there have been many good proposals and ideas, and there have been some not so good ones. 4 years ago, I was a visitor in an emergency room waiting room, where I witnessed a special needs individual be vocally and openly bullied and harassed in front of a crowd of other visitors. I tell you that story because that night I made a decision not to react in the angry way that I could have and wanted to, but instead to channel my anger into a constructive way of combating the issue. That night, I accepted responsibility that just getting angry and reacting at that one situation would not have done anything more than just that, get myself angry. Now, am I advocating that everyone who feels strongly about something go and form their own nonprofit? Of course not. But what I am suggesting is that we all take a step back from these obviously and rightfully so emotional issues and figure out constructive ways to be part of the solution, not perpetuate the problem. Public shaming of those accused of being bullies is not constructive and not appropriate. And to those who would agree with that as a course of action, I remind you of the following. First, those kids I encountered that night had an audience of people and it did nothing to deter their behavior. Secondly, there are some adults out there, including some that may be listening, that have their picture as well as their name next to their own public comments, and it does not deter them from disrespecting others. Part of understanding bullying means to understand what causes it. And while yes, some kids are born purely troubled, most kids who engage in true bullying behavior, which is to say the repetitious and ongoing engagement of unkind behavior, do so because of their own issues they are wrongly reacting to. Part of really combating bullying is to admit that kids can be bullies, and that admission starts at home. Bullying prevention that only revolves around focusing on the victim will always fail because it does nothing to interrupt the cycle. We must be engaged in not only appropriately punishing but also helping the bully in order to have any meaningful impact. Now, before you allow yourself to be convinced that I'm a defender of bullies, I remind you that for 6 solid years I endured bullying of varying degrees, of which in the 9th grade almost caused me to take my life. And even though I survived and chose a better course of action, I at 30 years old still battle the lasting impacts of those years each and every single day. There are many opportunities to help tackle this topic in a constructive way. Attend community meetings like those my organization holds. Volunteer at events. Help us raise necessary funds to support our all-volunteer efforts in the community. Help us promote our programs across your community and be our representative within it. Offer your opinions and proposals to us and work with us to enact them. Be engaged in the topic and most importantly, do not tear each other down because some of you may disagree on how to handle specific situations. The biggest tool against bullying is respect, and that begins with us respecting each other and leading by that example. I am encouraged by this debate and ongoing conversation, but I urge you, do not let time minimize your enthusiasm. Each and every single day, I hear about children who are suffering, whose names and situations never end up in the media or go viral. But that does not mean they are not happening. Your enthusiasm is the much needed fuel to keep us fighting for each and every child who needs it, both victim and bully. I thank you for taking the time to listen to me this evening, and I look forward to the ongoing conversations that we will all have. Thank you.